Good evening, everyone. If you don't know, you should know. My name is Ramiz Khan, and I am a filmmaker and a film critic, and I've been looking forward to this ever since it was announced 2 years ago. This is the review of Season 1 of Westworld.
Are we very old friends?
No, I wouldn't say friends, Dolores. I wouldn't say that at all.
Westworld is HBO's latest TV show, written and produced and made by Jonathan Nolan and Lisa Joy, and partially produced by J.J. Abrams. It is an expansion of the novel of the same name by Michael Crichton named Westworld, and the movie as well. It's a more darker and science-based study of the original source material as well, and it blends really well with the Western aspect of the story, as they pay homage to a ton of Western films in this show. The very first episode, the first 15 minutes, there's a clear reference to The Searchers, John Wayne's The Searchers, with the shot of Dolores walking out of the door. It's an exploration of a Western theme park, a massive theme park, might I add. Think Universal Studios multiplied by 1,000, yes. And in this theme park, cyborgs exist. Cyborgs are called hosts. They exist for one purpose and one purpose only: your entertainment. And it's an exploration of topics we've seen in classic science fiction films such as Blade Runner and The Terminator. What does it mean to be human? And a subplot of all of those films was the arrogance of man. Both of those things are explored in Westworld. And Anthony Hopkins shines in portraying that said arrogance. He walks that very thin line between human and God ever so perfectly. His condescending speech, along with his care and wisdom, create a truly magnificent and incredibly complex character. The acting on Westworld is through the roof by every single person involved in this show. In the very first episode, a supporting character steals a scene from Anthony Hopkins, this guy. But it's Anthony Hopkins' character of Dr. Ford is what's special. He's like a screenwriting teacher acting as God. Incredible character and a fitting performance. His eyes and his eyebrow movements, along with his arrogant speech disguised as politeness, makes this a very memorable character and performance. It's like a mixture of Hannibal Lecter, Ra's al Ghul from Batman Begins, and Vincent from Collateral. The only actor I have an issue with is James Marsden. Not that he's bad or anything, but I believe the casting is what failed that character. And it's probably done on purpose. In a lot of films James Marsden stars in, he loses the girl. In X-Men, he loses Jean Grey to Wolverine. In Enchanted, he doesn't get the princess. And Superman Returns, he loses Lois Lane to Superman. I don't know if they casted James Marsden specifically for that on purpose, but if they did, it does end up robbing the series of its ominously serious tone. And James Marsden is a bit stone-faced throughout the whole series. Me personally, I would have recasted him with someone else, maybe someone like a Guy Pearce. So we're given access to multiple storylines and characters. One of them is the life of the cyborgs and their growing consciousness. The other is the guest's point of view. Another is the maintenance of the park. And finally, a somewhat mutiny being brewed by Ed Harris as the Man in Black. The show looks fantastic as well, shot completely on film to give it that authentic Western feel. I wonder if we're gonna see an all-digital Westworld when we get to see the outside world. The show takes place completely in the park, by the way. They never leave Westworld. The overall cinematography of the show is fantastic, but the one thing drew my attention: the presence of two colors and how they're used throughout the series. Those colors being white and red. The very first episode, there's a shot where blood is diluting milk, and it's replicated and present in the paneling of the walls at the facility, where the red overpowers the white, indicating to me a lack and loss of purity. Those colors play a big part in this show. There are more than a few nods to Stanley Kubrick's 2001: A Space Odyssey as well, and if you imitate that film visually, you're bound to get fantastic results. The music and the score is of supreme interest as well. It's done by Ramin Djawadi, who also scores Game of Thrones, but the score also acts as a story element, because so many famous songs have been covered in this show. The very first episode has a rendition of Painted Black, and then there's another rendition of House of the Rising Sun as well. To me, it brings to light and spotlights the creators of the show. The score acts as a metaphor for the creators in the show, since all the recognizable music is played mostly during simulations. However, there are more than a few discrepancies in one plotline. that being of the character Maeve, played by the wonderful Thandie Newton, who brings the house down as that character. Her storyline involves her gaining consciousness. She's a cyborg, so in episode 2, she breaks out of sleep mode, and there's literally no one in the facility to see that. I call BS. The whole storyline is head-scratching. Not that the story is bad, but the build destroys so much about the world. Not a single person notices that two butchers are talking to a host. There's no CCTV footage to capture them as well, yet you can get CCTV footage of a butcher dry humping a host in sleep mode. Why are the butchers exactly afraid of Thandie Newton's host when they can program her? Why don't they go to a superior? Why don't they have restricted access? Why can they access the basement in the bottom where all the dormant hosts are kept? So many plot holes upon plot holes. Maeve's character literally had no roadblocks in front of her, and the roadblocks that were put in front of her were extremely easy to hurdle over, thus killing a lot of that storyline's tension. And let me make this clear, I'm not criticizing the storyline. The storyline is basically Terminator gone rogue, right? I am criticizing the buildup of it, and from what I've seen, it was really sloppy. Some of the editing and decisions to use the looped storytelling does get a bit confusing and annoying as well, especially since there's no denotion of time. We do not know when this show takes place. We do not know how many times these people have been wiped and woken up. So it does get a bit bothersome given that this show is over 10.5 hours long. And it's even made all the more confusing because there's so much we're kept in the dark on. We don't even know what year this show takes place in. The final problem I have is that a lot of the dialogue, most of the dialogue, is needlessly heavy-handed. Characters keep on telling the audience how important everything is. Real people don't make analogies in every single sentence. This is something which is present in every screenplay written by A. Nolan, so it's more of a style thing. And this is mostly going to be a non-issue for a lot of people, but I just wanted to put it out there that there are moments where I legitimately rolled my eyes, telling myself, listen, can you just have a real conversation? With all that being said, my minor issues and the numerous plot holes in this show, I'm still going to recommend Westworld because it's like a mixture of Blade Runner, iRobot, Inception, and The Matrix. That's a pretty damn good combination to have. I am giving Westworld a final score of 4 out of 5. Not as good of a season as, let's say, the first True Detective season, but still pretty darn good, and I suggest you should check it out because the first season ends on a pretty great note. Thank you so much for watching, people. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that free subscribe button and like button. But until next time, remember to love yourselves.